Don't you ever talk that way to me. Never! Never! What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Even if you've never seen Paul Newman's classic movie Cool Hand Luke, you've probably heard that line, "What we got here is failure to communicate." It's become a part of our culture, one of those movie lines that just sticks. And for good reason, because failure to communicate is something that we all know a lot about. Let's look at another example.
Peter, I want to talk to you about this afternoon's client meeting because there's something very particular I wanted to make sure that you know about.
Yeah, I know. We got to get the food there on time this time, Joanne.
Yes, we have to get the food on time, but
So
that's not it.
embarrassing.
This is a culturally different group than what we're used to.
Well, we can't order Chinese food?
No, it's not the Chinese food. It's that this group manages Q&A differently.
I just want to make sure that Chinese food is better than it was last time.
It's not the food. It's the
So
Q&A.
embarrassing. Both times. I can't believe it.
Peter, it's the way they manage Q&A.
Q&A is not a problem for me, Joanne. I'm really fine with Q&A. It's where I shine.
It's not you. It's them.
How's
they
my
don't.
tie?
The tie's fine.
Okay, good. Don't worry about the Q&A. It'll be fine. I'll see you later.
Peter, you're not listening to me.
This could have been so different. Watch.
Peter, I want to talk to you about this afternoon's client meeting because there's something very particular I want to make sure you know about this group.
All right, what is it?
Well, they're a Japanese group. They don't interact during Q&A in the same way.
So what does it mean for me?
Well, it means that you should probably plan to lecture a little bit more and then break into smaller groups. Don't expect the same amount of interaction.
Okay, so for Q&A, really don't expect that lecture more because they're not going to say too much.
Exactly.
Got
That's it.
Okay, see you later.
Good, and hey, I like that tie.
Today's podcast is about active listening, something that we don't do nearly enough. It's something that we have a hard time with, and there are some cognitive reasons why that's true, as the gentleman in this slide is going to explain.
The average speaker speaks at about 125 words per minute. The average listener can comprehend about, you tell me, you think it's about the same, higher, lower? It's actually higher. It's 4 times higher. It's 500. 500. What? No, that can't be right. That can't be right. I talk to people all the time. They don't pick up half of what I'm saying. You wonder. But it is true. And let me tell you how it applies to active listening, which is what we've been talking about. Right now, for you to listen to me, using those ratios of 4 to 1, it's taking about 25% of your brain to comprehend what I'm saying. Which means if you had one person sitting right up front here listening to me, you got 3 in the back getting bored. They want something to do. The 3 in the back are saying, give us something to do. The one in the back says, hush, Russ is talking. He's actually quite good. But we're bored. Give us something to do. Fine then. We got a company coming in this weekend. You guys make a grocery list. Oh, okay, yeah, we'll do that. What do you want to have this weekend? Chicken? Chicken, yeah. Are we going to cook on the grill? Yes. Steaks are good on the grill. Yes, steaks. And before you know it, the 3 in the back, their conversation starts to slowly take over to the point where you're no longer listening to me. Now you got 3 in the front saying, ice cream! We're going to make ice cream too! Yes! And then you got this person in the back, and as I'm speaking to you, I suddenly say your name. And the one in the back says, you guys get out of the way! He just said my name. I'm sorry, Russ, would you please repeat that? Has that ever happened to you on a conference call? That is why active listening is so difficult. Your brain is a wonderful thing, and it can do many things at one time. Your job with focused attention is to train 100% of your brain to listen, not just the 25.
So this is the situation we find ourselves in, and I know you know what I'm talking about. We don't listen with all of our brain because we don't have to. Our brains are capable of absorbing a lot more information than somebody is capable of delivering orally. It's especially bad when somebody's on the telephone and we have a computer in front of us. Most of us are doing email or playing Minesweeper or doing whatever it is that we do, and then we miss things, and people say our name, and we've missed what's important because pretty soon we've gone beyond the critical mass of that 25%, and we're not even paying attention with that much of our brains. what we need to do in order to get more information and in order to convince people that we're paying attention so that they're not angry with us is to listen actively. And just a few tips on this. Your textbook is pretty good on what it means to listen actively. It means that you pay attention with all of your attention, that you focus on the person who's speaking or the people who are speaking, that you stop making assumptions, that you stop thinking you know what people are going to say or trying to jump in the conversation and say what they were going to say before they say it, and that you specifically listen for how people feel and not just what they say. We're pretty good at reading feelings when we want to be, through tone of voice, through subtle inflection, through body language, facial movements. We're good at reading how people feel about what they're saying, how they feel about us, and active listening can tell us a lot more than just what's being said. There's a big difference between active listening and aggressive listening. The aggressive listener wants to seize control of the conversation, to tell people what to do, to make sure that they get their own point in next, and they're constantly thinking about how they can take control of what's being said and what they're going to say next. The active listener, on the other hand, is really trying to understand both the content and the context of the communication. Some very good active listening techniques that your book gives you. One, paraphrase the content back to the speaker. When somebody says something, especially if it's a little bit complicated, say what you think you heard. That gives them a chance to correct you if you make a mistake. It also lets them see that you are paying attention. And it occupies that other 75% of your brain, which is something that you need to do in the service of the actual communication. Mirror the speaker's feelings. If somebody is very sad about something, don't pretend that that's not the case. Don't try to minimize their feelings or their issues. Acknowledge the feelings. Acknowledge the tone of the conversation and try to replicate that tone as much as you can in your own tone when it's appropriate. Third, state your own feelings. Don't just say what you think about something, say what you feel about something, and state them as feelings, rather than taking what your feelings or opinions are and stating them facts in a way that often angers people. Fourth, if you don't understand something, or if you want more information, ask for it. Ask somebody if they would clarify what they said, or if they could give you a little more information or a little more evidence for what they're saying. Let them expand upon those parts of the communication that you don't fully understand. And finally, if the communication includes a problem, offer to help solve the problem, which doesn't mean tell them how to solve the problem. There's a big difference between offering to be of service, offering to be of help, and telling them how to solve the problem because you know how to solve it because you've already done this and you know everything. The first is an active technique, the second is an aggressive one. Finally, remember that there are at least 3 ways to demonstrate that you're listening. First, with your words, by giving the kinds of feedback we've discussed, the paraphrasing, the mirroring of somebody's feelings and sentiments. Secondly, with your nonverbal symbols. If you're always scratching your head or looking at your watch or fidgeting, that sends a message. If you're nodding your head when they say important things, that sends a message. So our nonverbal facial and dramatic gestures also have a lot to do with how we show we're listening. And finally, by your actions. After somebody says something, what you do then, how you respond to it. If they've asked for something, how you put into play what they've asked for tells them how much you listened. It's always good to be listened to. That's one of the things that human beings want more than anything else. And as you build relationships with people, showing that you're a good listener is a big part, not just of the communication process, but of the relationship process that is going to dictate, to a very large extent, your success.